Hello, I'm Keith King, and I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about Esri's system of engagement. Let's start off with three key points about the system of engagement. Number one, the goal of the system of engagement is to produce apps that help people do their job better. And when I talk about applications, think about the types of apps that we have on our smartphone for our personal life. These apps, they're easy to use. We don't go to training, we don't read manuals, yet they're very, very helpful in our day to day lives. Well, we want to bring that concept into the workplace and deliver these modern apps that help everybody do their job better. The second thing that I want to point out about the system of engagement is yes, it is about technology and data. But that technology and data strategy is really driven by the user and it's driven by the applications that they need. And then thirdly, the system of engagement ensures that your goals and your objectives are operationalized across the organization. Everything that we do is prioritized around what you need to accomplish for the agency. So the concept of the system of engagement, I like to compare our approach to these building blocks, maybe these blocks we played with when we were kids. If you think about an individual building block, it's simple, it's easy to understand, but it's designed to work together with other building blocks. And if you have enough building blocks and the right types of building blocks, you can build this big complex structure. Well, these applications, these apps that I'm talking about, same thing. The individual app is simple, it's easy to understand, but it too is built to be connected to other applications. So you can support a big, complex workflow with a lot of different stakeholders if you have the right applications in place. Each stakeholder has their own app to help them deliver their portion of the workflow if these apps are connected together and data is moving between them. Let me just give you a simple example of what I mean by this. If we go back a few years, Hurricane Irma went through the state of Florida. Now, as a result of that storm, just about every bridge in the state needed to have a damage assessment performed upon it. So this means that the boots on the ground, they had to go out to the bridge and they had to answer some questions about what they saw and take some pictures. And typically these were maintenance folks. So those individuals, they needed an app to help them perform their portion of the workflow, the actual inspection of the bridge itself. So that's what you see on the left-hand side, an application that supported them. It's a mobile application. The application on the right-hand side is an operations dashboard. This is for another persona in that workflow. These were the folks back in the operations center. They needed to collect the data from around the state, maybe combine it with some other data that they have, so that they could get an understanding of what was happening and make some decisions on how best to recover from the storm. So you have two different stakeholders in this workflow here. Each of them needed their own tool to do their portion of their job better. And these apps, they're connected because when the individual out in the field hits that submit button following the bridge inspection, that data becomes available on the dashboard. And right here is the concept of what we want to apply across all workflows in the DOT, whether it has to do with planning or design or construction or maintenance or environmental, whatever the case may be. Everybody needs a modern application to help them do their portion better. And then they need to hand that off to somebody else. And so the system of engagement really puts the focus on those individuals, makes sure that they get what they need, and it also helps to encourage buy-in and participation in the larger process. Now, another key component of the system of engagement is this idea of a destination, a place to go where people can get to their app and their data and maybe a map. Our goal with the system of engagement is that everybody ought to be able to get to the app, map, or data they need in 3 clicks or less, and do that from anywhere, whether they're out in the field or in the office. Now, we can't always do that, but that's what we strive to do. And this destination helps to facilitate that process. This is also what we use to manage credentials, so controlling who can see what. Yes, we want to make information and applications accessible, but we also know that we need to control how information is disseminated out and who it's disseminated to. So this destination helps us to accomplish that as well. In terms of getting to an SOE from a conceptual standpoint, we've talked about these applications. Well, we've talked about the users first. The users need applications, and then they go to a destination in order to get to their app. But how do we get this done? Well, the simple story behind this is that we take advantage of technology, of the systems, the business systems that you already own. The system of engagement is not a replacement strategy. In fact, it's just the opposite. What we want to do is to connect and to extract and democratize the data that exists today in all these disparate siloed systems. And we do that through a process called web services. We build web services. This is not an Esri thing. This is an IT concept. Web services basically allows us to point to the data in an existing business system, expose that data, and then we can use the data in these applications. And we can push and pull data back and forth between these existing systems. The great thing about a web service is you build it once and you use it over and over again. And we certainly take advantage of that capability with the system of engagement. Now, our approach follows the Esri method, which is understand, plan, and act. Understand, plan, and act. Now, you can see on this chart that we have two components of the understand phase. We have a business track and a technical track. In the business track, we are engaging non-technical users across your agency. We really want to get out and talk to those folks and understand what they do for a living so that we can identify the types of apps that they need. The technical track is a separate team that does a deep dive on all of your existing systems. We take this information, we go through some prioritization processes, we build a plan, and then our customers can determine how best to act on the plan. We start the process out by focusing in on that understand and plan part. And all of our customers have taken, like I said a moment ago, different routes for execution of the plan. Now, I do want to point out on that business track that I have mentioned, we have met with all kinds of different divisions and districts across the organization, and you can see a list of different groups that we've met with. But notice that first one, HR. I got to tell you, the first time I met with an HR group, my colleagues and I kind of exchanged a look, so to speak. We were unsure whether or not we were going to be able to help out the HR group. But as it turns out, we walked out of that meeting with 3 apps in hand that we ultimately put into the implementation plan. And at the end of the day, every organization within a transportation agency or a DOT, just about everything that's done revolves or is dependent upon location. And GIS exists to manage, visualize, share, and analyze location data. So it only makes sense that even HR can benefit from this approach. Now, in terms of some of our customers, you can see on the screen here who we've worked with in the past in the DOT space. We've also worked with some transit agencies, and I got to tell you, this whole approach is really starting to pick up steam across the board. We're engaged with some oil and gas, with an oil and gas company, and also with some engineering firms at this time. Quick case studies. Texas DOT. As part of the business track, you can see here we met with about 430 people, traveled around the state, met with a bunch of districts, and out of all of these meetings that we conducted, we generated and identified 146 of these targeted applications. In the technical track, we made a lot of detailed technical recommendations, reviewed a lot of their existing systems as well. One more case study at Colorado DOT, not quite as big as Texas, so we didn't meet with as many people and didn't identify quite as many apps, but still 87 apps. Now, whether it's 146 apps or or 87 apps or even 50 apps. The question is, what do you do with that information? Again, these are targeted apps that we defined that people agreed to us that they said if they had these applications that could really help them in their day-to-day work. Well, once we identify these applications, we ask two questions about each one of them. The first question is, what is the level of effort to deploy the application? How hard is it to build? And because we have the technical track that we go through with our team, typically Esri can answer that question with you know, little additional input from our customers. So that's question one. How hard is it to build? Question two is, well, what's the value of the application to the organization? Well, we can't answer that question. So we bring these applications back to a core team, a core prioritization team, and we walk through each of these applications and we quantify the value, so to speak. In both cases, whether it's the level of effort or the value of the application, we assign a score between 1 and 4. Right? 1 is easy to build, 4 is hard to build, 1 is low value, and 4 is high value. Now, when it comes to the value proposition of each app, we like to look at 3 areas. And those areas are, are there any hard dollar savings or abilities to maybe improve revenue? Maybe it's on permitting, or maybe it's just time savings or something like that. Is there an opportunity to do better with less? Maybe improve the ability of the organization to do data-driven decision making in the area of planning, so to speak. And then also we want to consider organizational standing, right? Is an application that helps you better communicate with your citizens or your state legislators or the governor, is that going to improve your standing? And if it does, is that valuable? Well, we want to try to capture that when we look at these applications. Or perhaps these applications are going to help you meet federal regulations. We wrap all of these components in to generate that score between 1 and 4 for the value. Now, I'm about to show a chart that's not really all that appealing. Really what it is, it's all of the Colorado apps, all 87 apps that we identified at Colorado DOT in a matrix that represents the level of effort score and the value score. And you don't need to read this, but I want to show this matrix to you to demonstrate the process that we go through. So here are all 87 applications at Colorado DOT. As you move along the blue line here, the applications out to the right, in that column to the right, those applications, they're harder to build. They have a higher level of effort. As you move up that green line toward the top, the applications in the rows toward the top bring more value to the organization as compared to the rows at the bottom. So as you can imagine, we get very interested in the applications that fall in that upper left-hand corner. These are the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. Typically, a good number of these applications are planned on. We want to work into our implementation plan that these low effort, high value apps get deployed early in the process. This is important because it really helps us to build organizational momentum, helps us to stand up some infrastructure as well that can be reused later on down the line. So a couple closing thoughts on the system of engagement in terms of timing. The understand and plan part, it takes about 12 weeks to get that done. We meet with your business units, we meet with your technical folks, we go through the prioritization process, we write the plan. And that plan that we build is your plan, and you can do with it as you see fit. We've had several customers say to us, Esri, this is a great plan. We want you to implement it. And we've done that, and we're in the process of doing that today. Other customers have said, hey, Esri, this is a great plan, and we're going to implement it ourselves. One customer in particular, Florida DOT, we went through the understand and plan part about 3 years ago. Yet if we go there today and talk to them about the system of engagement, it's still at the top of their vernacular, right? They're not going to be confused by it. This plan did not get built and then put on a shelf. It's being acted upon. The point here is that there's a lot of value in that plan. And one other thing about the plan I'll just say is It's not just a technology plan. Yes, it includes some technology recommendations, but it's much more than that. It's a people, process, and technology plan. Everything from change management to training to roles that need to be established, even organizational recommendations are included in this plan. Now, in closing, I'll just end where I started. The, the three key points about the system of engagement. It's about producing applications to help people do their job better. It's establishing a technology and data ecosystem that lives on for a long time. And then finally, it's about embedding your goals and objectives into the overall process. Thanks a lot for hearing me out here. I look forward to the rest of the conference. Take care.